Good afternoon, and we're here today and we're going to be talking all about creatine. It seems to be all over Instagram at the moment and everyone's talking about taking it. So we're going to have a chat today with Zana Morris and talk about why we should be taking creatine, why it's good for us, and all of the benefits that we can get from it. So I'm just going to be joined by Zana in just a moment. Let me just accept that in. And then we'll be good to go. So this is our Pure Fine Creatine that we have here at Strong Nutrients. And this is, let me just let Zana in. Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Thank you very much.
Good. So I've jumped straight in, just explaining that today it's everywhere. Everyone's talking about creatine at the moment. It's all over Instagram. And so I'm just wanting to understand more about it in terms of who should be taking it and why we should be taking it. So you were sort of one of the first. You've been talking about creatine for years, haven't you? It seems everyone's sort of caught up now and is chatting about it, but I know that it's been something it's been one of your go-tos for years.
30 years. 30 years. I mean, honestly, 30. No, that's no exaggeration.
Yeah.
Genuinely 30 years. And when we had the gyms, when I first set them up we're going back to 2006, I recommended every single client go onto it. It's one of those supplements that's been around forever. It takes a long time for, dare I say, in those days social media didn't exist, but it takes a long time for social media to catch up, and then it talks like it's new.
Yes.
It's not
Well,
new.
yeah. But it does seem to be everywhere, and it's all different ages that are taking it, and for all different reasons. So I mean, if I'm completely honest, I've been working with you for a couple of years now, and you always mentioned it to me, and I had it, but I didn't take it. So I was focusing on some of the other supplements within the range that I was sort of feeling like I really needed, and I was really feeling those benefits. And then recently, I've sort of got back into my training a bit more regularly, and I've just felt like I haven't been able to give it what I used to be able to, and nothing's seemingly changed, but I just was missing that oomph. And so I reached for the pot a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, yeah, I'll give it a go, and I'll see what happens. I don't particularly enjoy the taste of it, I have to be honest, but I've got through that and I take it. And I cannot believe the difference in my energy when I work out. I just thought I just didn't think it would happen that way. I mean, it's really pushed me to get better results. I've said before, I do a lot of Peloton. I can physically see the results are better. I feel better, and I do feel bit more defined, if that
Oh yeah.
is that right? So it's
100%.
but I feel like I've not been doing anything more than I would have usually done. I just feel that I look more defined and I feel better. I have energy when I'm on the bike.
Yeah.
Why? What
It's
does it
what does it
do?
do? Honestly, when going back when I was saying earlier, when I was recommending in the gym, that's what 2000. Okay, that's nearly 20 years ago in the gyms, and pre that and all of my training, it would have been something that was just there was a supplement we knew to take and the difference it made for the training.
Yeah.
And the reason is, in those days, going back 2 decades, it didn't have all the positive press it did now, was because serious athletes, and in particular bodybuilders, all knew to take it. And they all knew the difference it made. Creatine used to be banned in professional sports because it was one of the only natural supplements that made the difference you mentioned.
Yeah.
So they were kind of comparing it to drugs and steroids, saying, no, it's too dramatic almost. You're getting an unfair edge, if you
Yeah.
like. Now it's not banned anywhere, just to be super clear,
Yeah.
because the more they look at it, the more research they've done in it, the more they realize you just eat a whole load of meat and you're going to have lots of creatine. It's natural. You
Yeah.
get your diet, but it makes a very distinct difference.
Yeah.
And as I'm always saying, and we'll go into this in a moment, what I love about creatine is that the more research they do, the more benefits they find.
Amazing.
There's ones that are left field that we never knew when we were taking it for what you're talking about,
Yeah.
what it was doing beneficially for us.
Mm.
And that spreads. I mean, gosh, I was reading something recently where even osteoarthritis it can be helpful for. Like it just keeps
Wow.
it keeps
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
It's the thing I'm giving. So why does it do this? There's this thing called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. They're energy molecules. And our body uses them, our cells use them for energy, quite frankly. They're like little units of energy and our body uses them. Our brains use them, particularly as we age, as we go through perimenopause, menopause, our brain relies on it more. And when we train, our body uses those energy molecules to give you the stamina to keep going. And creatine is the primary ingredient of ATP.
Right.
Without
Okay.
it, your body will have difficulty creating ATP. In fact, I don't think it can, simply put.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So every time you train, those high intensity, to the Peloton bikes or HIIT classes, even weight training, that's what your body's using to fuel you. Skipping, that's what your body's using.
Yeah.
So if you don't have much ATP, your reserves, you can push yourself all you like.
Yeah.
One, eat a lot of meat and fish to top up those creatine stores, now a lot,
Yeah.
to top up what your body really needs to keep you firing off all cylinders.
Hmm.
So from a training point of view, it's dramatic. You notice it,
Yeah.
but it also protects the muscle. So when you train, normally you can actually break down muscle. You don't build it up from
Yeah.
training, you build it up from recovery. The creatine seems to protect muscle mass, and this is what makes it so exciting because even if you don't train, it protects muscle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for older people, I say older people, from the age of 30, we're losing our lean
Yes.
body mass. All of us are. So it helps protect that. And particularly the older we get, the more dramatic almost the result is on that regard.
Right.
And then, as I jumped in and I mentioned briefly there, it also seems to help because it helps the brain and the brain functioning and powering it up. It seems to help memory and recall. And quite frankly, the older the person is, I think the more dramatic the result is on that one for many.
Yeah.
And vegetarians and vegans. Now they can notice a big difference with creatine supplementation. Really big.
Right. Okay.
It's the
So we get it.
only
So we get it naturally, but none of us are probably taking as much as we
well,
should, or is it something that we are
it's
naturally having enough?
yeah, like there's no RDA for it, if you like, recommended daily allowance, if you like. Nobody quite knows what the actual RDA is. And I suspect it's also because it depends on how much exercise you do, how much training you do, how much fish and meat you have in the diet. So
Yeah.
100 grams of salmon will have less than a gram of creatine. So
Okay.
you might think, okay, I have 200 grams of salmon with the equivalent a day, so I'm getting about 2 grams of creatine, so I'm fine.
Hmm.
But you think about it, a scoop of that creatine powder
Yeah.
is 5 grams.
Yeah.
There's a loading up phase on creatine, which we don't actually always recommend, but originally they were recommending 20 grams a day for 5 days to
Wow.
really get the full impact of it, to build it up in the store. So now you're on all
Yeah.
cylinders, and then you
Yeah.
maintain it at just the 1 scoop or 1 teaspoon a day. So can
Right.
you imagine trying to get 20 grams in through fish and
Yeah.
meat?
That would be. Yeah. That would
You
be
can,
hard to do.
yeah, you can do it,
So
but difficult.
it's
And vegetarians and vegans, no, you can't do it at all, obviously, to
no.
that. Yeah.
So it's not as easy, like when we talk about protein and we can easily sort of say this amount of that, it isn't always that easy to identify that with creatine then.
It's not as easy to get the top up that makes the difference,
Right.
particularly
Okay.
your training or as we get older when the body really does seem to use the creatine and the brain relies on creatine.
Yeah.
Through menopause, perimenopause, as
Yeah.
estrogen start fluctuating and dropping, our brains seem to move to ATP for that energy source. So in
Right.
English, you think of brain fog and the likes. Well, it seems to make a difference with that, which is clarity, mental functioning, memory, recall.
Yeah. Amazing. So many more benefits than just going a bit harder on the bike.
100%, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
I have really noticed a difference taking it, and I've been taking it daily. And now, is that something? Do you need to take it daily? Is your body storing it enough? How does it dispose of any
It's
waste?
a
Is it
really good question, and this ties a little bit into the last sort of point and question there. It depends on how much exercise you're doing. Every time you train, you're going to be using up your stores.
right?
So
Okay.
I would say if you're going to be training
Hmm.
and if you're going to prepare menopause or menopause, and if you're someone that kind of doesn't eat a huge amount of fish or meat,
Hmm.
you eat it. And obviously, as I've clarified, you'd never eat the amount that, I mean, even to get 5 grams a day through fish or meat is
Yeah, quite a lot.
very hard.
Yeah, yeah.
I might say impossible, not impossible, but impossible for the normal person. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Nobody will want to do it. I would say yes, you do. I mean, does it build up? Yes. Can you store it? Yes. That's the whole point of taking 20 grams a day for 5 days, which,
Yeah.
by the way, we don't recommend in ours because it's not always necessary. But if you are somebody, oh my gosh, if you were kind of training for a triathlon and you need to get the gains fast in terms
Mm.
of then I would be recommending you did do that.
Yeah.
Take the 5 grams 4 times a day for 5 days. Now that's all you do it for. And
Yeah.
that's they say that the cells seem to store it. Then at that point you've kind of topped up the cells. And then you go down to the once or twice a
Yeah.
day. And the
Yeah.
once or twice depends on how much training you do. So if you're doing
Right.
a lot of training, you want to do twice.
Yeah.
But for the normal person, and by normal I mean somebody who trains maybe 3-4 times a week, trains well, eats well, I think the 1 teaspoon a day, 1 scoop a day is perfect. I think that's more than enough.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, even if you're not training, I think it's
Still.
really well worth taking. You'll
Yeah.
feel it. You'll notice it.
Yeah. So if you take too much, there aren't any side effects or anything
The,
like that?
this is one of these lovely supplements where they really are hard pressed to find side effects. In the early days, oh my gosh, people mentioned all sorts of things, but
Yeah.
none of it was shown in science or research. Some people, so side effects of creatine, some people find they might get a bit crampy with it, in which case my recommendation is just massively reduce the amount and take much smaller amounts kind of regularly. That would do it.
Yeah.
Uh, there was the question mark about whether you hold water, if there's water retention with it. And apparently, yes, your cells will hold a little bit more water because that's working as all of that energy cycle and so on and so forth. So yes, the cells will hold a bit. But when it comes to measurements, because the big one women particularly ask, men want it, women are afraid of it,
Yeah.
is does it increase muscle size? Do you get bigger?
Yeah.
I had gyms for nearly 20 years
Mm-hmm.
and do weighs and measures and calipers and all of that on every single client.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a long time, a lot of people, a lot
Yeah.
of weighs and measures. And I can promise you, in all of that time, with all of the weighs and measures with clients, and you're putting them around their arms and biceps and around thighs and all the different areas, I can promise you, I never found in one case that their muscle size, as in the size of the arm, like
Yeah.
grew great.
Right. Yeah.
What it did do is allow people to train harder.
Yeah.
Now, for men with lots of testosterone and growth hormone who are trying to make gains or eating loads of protein and on a diet for it, it meant they trained harder,
Yeah.
which meant the uptake of the protein then increased. So it
Right.
helped them gain
Yeah.
size. But in the absence of all that extra protein and all that extra intense training, and quite frankly, for a lot of women, in the absence of all that testosterone naturally occurring, it's
Yeah.
hard to make those gains. It doesn't happen as simple as taking creatine, in my experience.
No. No.
That's just my experience with it.
And does it, I'm sort of just thinking about sort of since I've been taking it and how it's, so when I'm on the bike, I've got that, I can absolutely go harder than I've sort of gone before. And afterwards, I don't feel as exhausted as I used to feel. Is that right as well? So
100%.
often
But
I would get off and be like, oh my God, like I am done. But I haven't been feeling that.
you've got the ATP, those energy molecules to keep you going. Your body's
Yeah.
not driving into other reserves. It's not fighting with it, with breaking down muscle to get the glucose and everything out of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to do it to that degree. So you're not wiped out. And
No.
that's exactly why we used to give it to
Yeah.
clients. So all these new clients that used to come into our Notting Hill venue and our Marylebone venues. And honestly, when I say they weren't 18-year-old boys trying to make gains, I can promise you that.
Yeah.
They're all mainly, quite frankly, women, and
Yeah.
mainly women from sort of late 30s upwards, who were just training to recover lean body mass, to be strong, to be fit. And that's exactly why we did it, particularly as beginners, because it was almost like you would jump forward a few steps without having done anything at all.
Yeah.
You would train like it was your third session rather than your first.
Yes.
Straight away. You'd recover faster.
Yeah.
Straight
Yeah.
away. Yeah.
I mean, it is amazing. So how are you best to take it? Does it matter what time of the day you take it?
So with this, there's the answer to that is yes and no. So on one level, no, just get it into you. Your body will use it, it'll store it, it won't waste it, and it'll make use of it. That said, if you train and you take it before your training session, you will feel a difference for that training session. The body will utilize it straight away. But if you don't get to take it before you train, honestly, just take it anyway. So we used to recommend with clients, just take it every day in the morning.
Yeah.
We didn't really work about when they trained. We just said, just take it every day.
Mhm.
And in fact, we used to recommend clients taking it twice a day for the first sort
Okay.
of week to 10 days of it. So we didn't bother the 4 times a day loading phase, quite frankly, because I kind of found even twice a day for about 5 days to a week kind of did the same thing.
Mhm.
And it was less fiddly than remembering all of this to take 4 times a
Yeah,
day. There's more practicality. So we used to recommend people took it twice a day initially and then drop it down to once. But honestly, once a day over time, I believe eventually will catch up as well. So it'll do the same thing.
yeah,
And we used to just say morning, but for no other reason than it was just easiest to remember.
yeah. Okay.
It wasn't for any scientific reason.
Yeah,
But if you train, so anyone that's training out there, take it before you train and notice the difference. But please bear in mind, because this question gets asked a lot, is if I'm not training, can I take it? And the answer is yes, yes, yes. I recommend my parents take it. And, you know, they're active, but they're not necessarily training hard, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
But just for that protection of the lean body mass and for that brain functioning. And oh my gosh, if I came across a vegan, I would just be putting it with both my hands into there, saying, please, please take it, because
yeah.
it'll make the difference. You'll just feel it exactly like you did. But on a normal day to day, you'd start feeling it too.
Okay, brilliant. And if you forgot a day, does that matter? It doesn't need to just keep building up, it's fine.
It's a bit like if you're not taking it
Hmm.
now, you're still going to be fine. Like before you took creatine, you were
Yeah,
fine. You're not going to have this major, and that's why there's no real RDA, because they don't quite know. It's not like a vitamin where if you become completely depleted of it, you could end up with a lot of processes in the body not occurring.
mm,
You'll be fine, but you just won't have the same stamina. You might lose muscle a bit faster. So if you miss a day of it, you're not going to notice. It's not like medication. You're not going to notice any drop. If you take it for a few months and stop for a few months,
yeah,
no issue. You'll just find you probably don't have the same staying power.
mm,
You might find, and I
yeah,
really mean might find, that your memory recall isn't as sharp as it was while you were taking it.
yeah,
Just as
yeah.
you won't have the same amount of ATP.
Yeah, I can really see how, in terms of stamina, just in not just when training, but just in life, these
Yeah.
last few weeks, I've definitely felt more kind of alert and more together
Yes. And
mentally.
that's exactly it. That's
Yeah,
exactly what you're saying. And it
yeah,
is that. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that alertness as well. Because
yeah,
as I said, 20, 30 years ago, we only knew about it for the training aspect of it.
yeah,
And we knew it was a food supplement.
mm,
So we weren't kind of thinking, oh gosh, we're taking something unusual here. We couldn't understand why there was such opposition against it, if you like.
yeah,
And yes, there was mad reports of kids taking it and combining it with steroids and other cocktails of things,
yeah,
and that really is what gave it the bad name. But
yeah,
oh my gosh, it was probably the first supplement out there, nutrient food-based supplement, not herb-based, food-based, something you get in the diet
yeah.
anyway, that made a dramatic difference, and that almost gave it a bad name.
Right.
It's
Okay. Yeah.
brilliant though, isn't it?
Because
It worked.
I do often get on our DMs and things, I have often had customers questioning whether it's right for them being a woman, whether it's right for them if they don't train all the time, like all, and people do have fears around it, but that is because of that association it used to
I,
have. Whereas for menopausal and perimenopausal women, like as you say, it's so important for us to have that mental clarity and that stamina to sort of, we've got enough coming at us. We need all the support we can get with everything.
100%.
Yeah.
And my favorite is when the boyfriend or husband or teenage son looks at you and goes, well, why are you taking that? That's not for you.
Yeah.
Actually, it's more for
Yeah.
us. Because, well, particularly because it's that perimenopause and menopausal shift and
Mm.
the effect on the estrogen and the brain functioning. It's more for us,
Yeah. Yeah.
and even less for them.
Yeah.
But it's brilliant. And honestly, I've had clients where their partners have just gone, the boyfriends or husbands have just said, well, hang on, I don't think you should be taking that.
Like you're suddenly going to be all like
Exactly.
solid.
I think what they're thinking is, oh my God, if she's taking it, hang on, what am I
Yeah.
taking it for? Yeah. It protects the muscle mass and improves the strength and recovery.
Yeah.
So for guys, should they take it? Oh, 100%. And if they're training,
Mm.
100%. And will it help their gains and the gains in the muscle mass? Yes, because they will train harder. They
Yeah.
will recover faster.
Yeah.
It'll protect the muscle so they won't lose the muscle each time they train. So they'll be able to build faster.
Yeah.
But they're doing other things
Yeah.
it's a support structure to help them do it. On its own, if a guy took it, I'm not sure they're going to notice much of a difference in size if they did nothing else.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
but they would feel the strength and the stamina side of it, and they might feel more definition in the same way women would.
Hmm.
I'm not sure they'd get the gains without adding in all the extras that they do to gain then
Right.
with it. It's like a ladder to help them into getting it rather
Yeah.
than actually doing it on its own, in my experience now,
Okay.
working with men and women.
Right. And so taking it, I know I always remember it can't go in hot drinks. It can go in warm, but not hot. Um, is it okay to mix it in things? Because it does, some people find it has a strong taste. Some other people it doesn't sort of, it
Creatine
does,
has
they don't seem to,
a
like you don't
yeah,
notice it quite so
it
much, do
doesn't
you?
have much of a taste. It's grainy.
Yeah.
That's grainy. It doesn't dissolve.
Yeah.
It doesn't dissolve. But you can mix in anything. The two things not to do with creatine: don't put it in a hot drink. You'll just kill it off. The efficiency of it. You don't really have any creatine by the time you're finished.
Yeah.
And that's the same for a lot of nutrients. Just to be clear,
Okay.
if you put vitamin C in a hot drink, you're just going to kill it. So just that's the same with a lot of nutrients. You don't want to heat them. And the second is don't put it in a drink like water or something and leave it sitting there.
Okay.
Apparently, it kind of vanishes. I'm not even quite sure scientifically what happens. But in the old days, I've often mentioned this before, there were drinks that were coming out that had creatine in it already made up, and you could buy it, take it off the shelves, and they found within 24 hours there's no creatine in it anymore.
Wow.
So people were buying expensive water or drinks, as the case may be. So now you'll often get drinks where you'll have the creatine either in a screw thing underneath or a sachet that you add it
Yeah.
to when you're ready to take.
Yeah.
So there's just really the do's and don'ts. After that, you can take it any time of the day. Before training is helpful. You can mix in a protein drink, a smoothie. You can put it in yogurt. You can mix in water.
Yeah.
I used to take it sparkling water. Now I tend to throw it into a protein shake.
Yeah.
Or as anyone might have heard me speak before, at the moment I'm going through a phase where I'm quite a big fan of beetroot juice. So I'll throw it into that. Weirdly, now, apologies in advance for what I'm about to say next, because I usually encourage people in the opposite direction to this. There's pros and cons to almost everything in life. Sugars help the body use it. It almost shuttles it into the cells.
Okay.
So weirdly taking it, and if you do take fruit juice or smoothies with a bit of natural sugars running through it, that sugar can help the body take it up.
Okay.
That cautiously, because a lot of people we speak to, a lot of my clients will be on low sugar diets. So I wouldn't be encouraging that direction. But believe it or not, a little bit of sugar with it helps the body take it up. In the same way, a little bit of sugar helps the body take up protein.
Okay, yes, yeah. So I
Um,
have actually, when I have been taking it, so I've tried many different ways. I tried it just in water,
you didn't
which is
like
fine,
it.
just a shot, and you just have to deal with that. But I have also tried it in my electrolytes that I take, which are slightly coconutty.
Yeah.
But then the other thing was with one of my children's a bit of orange juice, which I wouldn't normally drink, but I just only had a small shot of it, sort of thing, and I put it in, and I did it that way, and it was fine.
And that will
So
work very well. And
okay,
the thing about sugars, just to say, if, let's put it this way, if there's no belly fat or middle fat going on, your body's insulin is fine.
yeah,
It really is. So just to be clear, you may not need to steer completely. Now, you don't want to be sugar addicted, just to be clear, because for some they are just sugar addicted, and that's not good. But you don't necessarily have to stay completely clear of
mm,
all sugars, natural sugars, or otherwise it's the case even with natural
yeah,
sugars. I smile at the term natural sugars because even white sugar is derived from a natural
yeah,
sugar. It's cane sugar. They're all natural. Doesn't mean it's good for us just because it's natural, but you
yeah,
know what I mean.
yeah,
So for someone like yourself, because I know your body shape, Lou, you're in good shape. It would work very well for you to have a
yeah,
bit of orange juice
yeah. Good.
about half an hour to 45 minutes, but half an hour, even 20 minutes actually before your training session.
Yeah,
And it would work not just very well, even better than taking it in water,
perfect.
because that's sugar. will shuttle it through. So I'm just looking at Amanda there. Hello. So I take it with yogurt and some blueberries. Yes, the blue sugar and the blueberries would be helpful. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
I'm just going to pop up. Someone else asked a question at the beginning, if I can find it. Here we go. Can I take creatine at any time of the day, not just before training? I work out in the morning and take Amino Slim. So that
Yes.
was Michelle.
Oh, can I
Yes.
jump on that point? The answer is yes, but great point. Amino Slim, for any of you taking Amino Slim already, where does the creatine fit in? Creatine is part of a protein, so therefore it will be considered food when we talk about Amino Slim. It won't break a fast. It's not a complete protein, but it would interfere with the Amino Slim working. So, perfect question. Don't take it with the Amino Slim. Take it at any other time of the day. If
Okay.
you're taking the Amino Slim, say for example, before your training, keep to the Amino Slim, take the creatine later. You'll still get the benefit of the creatine. The cells will take it up and store it.
Okay. Perfect.
There's one more question that we jump in with Hetty. I don't know if you've seen this. I've just ordered this. I'm 75, struggling with hip leg problems, seeing physio today, but not sure if going to be able to do the exercises. So will this help? Have the magnesium and chill pill. Oh, brilliant. I think so. Yes, I think so. I think it's going to help just that lean body mass side of things.
Yeah.
And so it'll just help that strength
Mm-hmm.
with any of the physio. Would it help with the recovery all by itself? Possibly. As I mentioned at the beginning there's indication that it's helpful with osteoarthritis and things like that as
Yeah.
well. But I do think it helps lean body mass. So I think it'll help the strength. And I think that in turn, and protect that muscle. So I think that in turn is going to help everything
Yeah.
else. So I would say yes.
Yeah. Okay. And also, like we mentioned before, the protein shake. So the protein and the creatine together work really well, don't they?
Yeah, for exactly, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
For helping the muscle mass, the recovery, the rebuild of muscle. And just a note on that, and I know, oh my gosh, anyone listening probably already knows what I'm about to say next, but I'm going to say it anyway. We talk about building muscle, and a lot of women are concerned because they talk about creatine and weight gain. Now, that's a big one.
Mm.
Oh, my head goes to my head when I hear the term weight gain. You need to distinguish between weight gain versus size gain.
Yeah.
Two different things. You want to build lean body mass. It's like the difference between having a lovely solid brick house and having a solid house of straw. Now, house of straw will weigh a lot less, but it'll also get blown away.
Yeah.
You don't want to be made of straw. You want to be made of really firm, lean body mass. It's
Yeah.
what sculpts you, it's what gives you the shape, but it's what gives you the strength
Yeah.
and the stamina and supports your joints and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So, do want weight gain of size is staying the same.
Mm-hmm.
You do, because
Yeah.
that's a sign of how firm you are within yourself, if you like. You're not just going to blow away,
Yeah.
obviously, metaphorically. So when you can add the protein to it, when you're looking at that, you are improving the lean body mass. You're recovering it.
Yeah.
You're not even gaining anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're regaining, you're recovering what you've lost over the years through aging.
Yeah.
So when people speak of weight gain, once we get past into our 40s onwards, when it comes to muscle, all you're really talking about is recovering. You're
Yeah.
recovering the very tissue you had in your 20s, but you've likely lost through that changing in hormones, just general aging, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So yes, back to this point and back to your head, yeah, the protein would be very helpful here too, because anything that helps support the lean body mass and helps you hold on to it
Yeah.
is going to help in the strength and being able to repair and recover. And lean body mass means everything from cartilage to bones to the muscle, the whole lot.
Okay. Yeah, so perfect combination. And can I just, we've sort of mentioned teenage boys and things, but in terms of creatine, what age could you start it from?
That's a very common question I get, and I usually get it from mums who are asking. They're saying, my teenage son wants to take creatine. And often it's daughters too, now just to be clear. It's not
Yeah.
just the boys, but the boys will have heard about it often from amongst each other, and they're trying to build, or they're doing rugby, they're playing the rugby or their sports. And oh my gosh, I mean, I know it was possibly to a degree always the case, but now it seems when kids are playing sports, it's serious. There's
Yeah.
no medicine. They are
And they play
playing.
a lot of sport. I mean, I like my kids do a lot of activities. It's not just one that they focus on. They do
Exactly.
lots.
They do lots, and they do a lot of hours of it. There's a
Yeah.
lot of training going on here.
Yeah.
So can they take it? And the answer is 100% yes. It's not a drug, it's food-based. Generally speaking, in the old days with supplements, we used to be sort of advised never to recommend anything, for under 18-year-olds, just, 18 or over. But to be honest, I think that's gone back out of the wayside, particularly for creatine and protein, the food-based supplements.
Yeah.
So certainly, from my experience and dealing with students and kind of, teenagers effectively,
Yeah.
I do think 14, 15-year-olds do well on it. They do
Okay.
absolutely fine on it. Now, they wouldn't necessarily need loads, but if they're doing a lot of, oh my gosh, some 14-year-old boys, the amount of, for example, rugby they might be playing, semi-professional athletes
Yeah.
practically by the time they finish.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and
they
you
will
want to
respond well.
support them as sort of, I mean, I've said before, my kids, they have a protein shake a few times a week because the casein protein is just so good for them. And when they are doing so much activity, I want to make sure they're getting as much
Yeah,
protein as possible without sort of having to make every meal. They're still kids, they still like to have a pasta
yes,
meal that perhaps doesn't have as much protein. So I supplement it that way. But obviously mine are a bit young for creatine at the moment
I
because
would
they're sort of under
agree.
10.
Yeah, I think I probably wouldn't give the creatine to kids, but you've made a valid point there. When they're younger, say under the age of 10 and they're still growing, think about it, their bones need the extra calcium, that needs the extra protein. So they're growing as well as playing. Now they're lucky they've all their hormones working in the right direction, soaking all this up. So they've got everything in their body working for them, as opposed to
Yeah.
as they get older, it's like the body says you're on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
The body will take it up, but the protein, oh my gosh, protein shakes make such a big, big difference to kids.
So yeah, so good. I mean, mine love them as well. They just think they're amazing. So I obviously make them well. I add in bananas and things. So it's nice things that they probably wouldn't always eat on their own, actually. So yeah, they're really good. Okay, anything else on creatine? I think I've gone through everything on my list. Um, yeah, I can't think of anything else. I can say it's like the most talked about thing at the moment on the internet. So it's certainly made a difference to sort of to me, not just training but also mentally. And I think it's brilliant.
Can I answer Hetty's last question? Oh no, there's two questions at the end there. Start with Hetty and work backwards up to Mel. Should I take the protein powder too? And I appreciate the expense side of it. I would say just start with one. And in terms of the protein, so the protein shake, just to be clear, it's casein protein. It's the same protein you get in cottage cheese and yogurts. So would it be useful to take? Yes. But can you do it through the diet? Yes. Just pay attention, as in, like, just get the kind of the eggs or the cottage cheese or the good quality proteins in, and just keep an eye on them. So the creatine's slightly different, so I probably would go creatine. Mel, does it have any effect on hair? Weirdly, that question is yes. And I've heard both sides of the fence on this, interestingly enough. I've heard not often, but a few cases when we talked about side effects. I've heard that it can cause hair thinning. Now, I haven't come across that often. I think I've come across it about twice in my career, which is 30 years long. So that's a long time with very little. And even in those cases, none of us could be convinced it was definitely just the creatine. So I'm not sure, but I'm not going to dismiss anything. I have heard on the other side it helped with the hair, the protein aspect of it, the creatine aspect, it seemed to help.
Yeah.
So that's one where, given the numbers of people taking it, I'm going to say I don't know. I think it's marginal and possibly not that much of a difference one way or the other. Simply, I've never noticed it made any difference to mine on either side, if I'm being honest. Neither for good nor for bad. I just never noticed any difference at all.
Although I did notice yesterday, I was looking at a hair brand and one of their products had creatine in it.
For that reason, then
Yeah.
perhaps. Yes,
Yeah. So
yes.
maybe there is some
Yeah,
stuff coming through, some evidence or
very
something.
possibly. I could see logically why it would help.
Yeah.
I could track it logically. I just never found personally it did.
Yeah.
I just never found it made any difference. But so if somebody came to me to improve their hair, I wouldn't necessarily think of that one. I would think of the protein, by the way.
Yes. Protein makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I've noticed that a lot. Yeah.
And then the last one, Amanda, I have a quick question. I have a long COVID, so don't work out, but still take it. Is that okay? Yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Very much.
Just yes. Lovely. All right, great. And I think we do also, it's within our some of our stacks as well, creatine, isn't it? I can't, off the top of my head, I can't remember, but I feel like we have it with protein.
Yes, it's our, well, basically, I'm going to say a training stack. It's not a training stack. It's our energy and stamina stack.
Yeah.
So we have mentioned obviously there a few times taking the protein alongside it. They work super, super well together. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
Hetty may be the combination of the two. It's always we have a slightly reduced amount when you purchase two together in the stacks. So I'll put all details at the caption though for this. And if anyone has any extra creatine questions, as I say, there's a lot of information out there, so it can be overwhelming. But any questions, send them through to me on DM, and I'll touch base with Zana. Lovely. Thank you very much. And have a good rest of the day. Thanks
yeah.
everyone for joining.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Thanks
Bye.
all. Bye bye.